Today, we're going to take a trip back to Sicily and talk about something interesting. It's easy to view Toto Riina as a forward-thinking strategist because his mind was obviously always working. And this is a fact that's been confirmed by those who knew him, and we'll get to that later. An important event took place in Palermo, and we'll get to that now. Toto Riina and the Corleonesi decided to kidnap the son of Francesco Ciccio Vassallo. Vassallo was a wealthy and successful construction contractor, and during this time, he was considered the richest businessman in all of Palermo. In addition, he had a close relationship with both Stefano Bontante and Gaetano Badalamenti. Vassallo also had family connections as he was married to Rosalina Messina, the daughter of Sicilian boss Giuseppe Messina. For Sicilian Cosa Nostra, kidnapping became the means of gaining capital, where they would invest that money into other businesses like narcotics. And by the way, Toto Riina hardly possessed a formal education, but he would become a genius in the narcotics business, which I'll get to at another time. On June 8, 1971, Giuseppe Vassallo was kidnapped. Initial reports have him being abducted near his house, where his screams could be heard while he was being beaten by two men. However, according to reports, Giuseppe was abducted by 3 or 4 men with pistols and forced into a car. And this took place after he left the Palermo nightclub. Witnesses seen him walking with a pizza in one hand and an ice cream in the other. He would later tell the police that while he was in captivity, he had no idea where he was or whether or not he was still in Palermo. And obviously, he couldn't identify any of his abductors. The Corleonesi held Giuseppe in captivity for 5 months. He explained to the police on the day of his release, he was driven to the outskirts of Palermo, handed 8 cents to make a call, and let out of the car. Giuseppe's father, Francesco, who ironically was nicknamed the Untouchable, paid the highest ransom ever recorded at that time, $1.6 million. Although $1.6 million is considered a significant amount of money for 1971, the important part of the story is not how much the Corleonesi made from this successful kidnapping, but what Toto Riina decided to do with the money. Let's keep in mind, the bosses in Corleone were always considered farmers by the bosses in Palermo. During this time, the bosses in Palermo became very wealthy in the narcotics business. But besides their wealth, they considered themselves more sophisticated than the people from Corleone. And in most cases, they were right with this way of thinking. But like anything in life, there are exceptions. But like we used to say in the street, they slept on the Corleonesi and Toto Riina. Whether he was shoveling shit on a farm or not, he was thirsty and he was always thinking. So the question is, what did he do with this ransom money? He decided to give it to the poor, and I know this sounds surprising. He wasn't trying to become a philanthropist. He just had an ulterior motive. More significantly, he didn't give the money to the poor people of Corleone, his fellow inhabitants. Instead, he gave it to the poor families of Palermo. If you think about it, the people in Palermo all talk. They definitely heard about the kidnapping. So now here comes a boss from Corleone offering the poor people of Palermo money. This is a country that remembers all too well of Salvatore Giuliano. He was considered the Robin Hood of Sicily. If you don't know about him, I'll put a link to a video I did down in the description. But what Toto Riina was trying to do was gain the loyalty and trust in the people in Palermo. In his mind, he knew most people are ruled by money. So by offering poor families money, he was building an allegiance with them, one that he would use to his advantage in the coming future. And it's important to remember, this all took place a decade before he unleashed havoc on the Palermo bosses, which is a demonstration of his mindset. He was plotting on these people 10 years before he acted. What does that tell you? And by Sicilian standards, 10 years is nothing. These are patient people that'll wait 20 or 30 years to settle a score. And as I mentioned, he would use these very same people that he placed money in their hands to his advantage in the coming future. And to prove how his plan came to fruition, Prosecuting magistrate Giovanni Falcone would refer to a group of people from Palermo who he named the Ghost Army of Assassins, people who would carry out hits in Palermo and then disappear. And it's highly likely that some of the people who received money were part of this ghost army. Those who weren't would become the Corleonesi's eyes and ears in regard to the ongoings in Palermo. By offering money to these people, he knew it was money well spent. Just to explain, in Italy and Sicily, the average person owns a gun or a shotgun, and they were familiar with using a weapon to settle a dispute. If you lived in Italy and you owned a house and property, and for some reason you had to travel to America or another country, you would go to your neighbor and ask him to watch your house. And if your trip was extended for some reason, and your neighbor decided he wanted to start developing your land, you would come home and he would tell you that that property belonged to him. So as you could imagine, disputes like this didn't end in a courtroom. It ended right there on the property. Back then, the people in Italy and Sicily were not like people in America. They'd blow you away and go in and have lunch. And these were the same people that the Corleonesi purchased loyalty from. This was an extremely strategic move by the Corleonesi, one that the bosses in Palermo didn't think they were capable of. We'll be getting a lot more to what took place in Sicily, especially the connection to American Cosa Nostra. I'll let you know what videos, but some of the things that you're going to be hearing is going to be revealed for the first time. Stories that are not from books, Google, or Wikipedia. These are stories that come from the mouths of people who were close to Toto and Riina. The only thing I'll divulge now is some of the things I heard shocked me. So definitely stay tuned. For those of you who eat this information up, dinner's about to be served. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please remember to hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed, you could do that as well. If you think friends and family might find it interesting, please share it. Also, under the video, you'll notice a thanks icon. You can support this channel if you wish, and thank you. Okay, till the next time. You can subscribe to the Sit Down News blog at sitdownnews.com, and I appreciate everyone who has subscribed. Thank you. Well, just another example in the mob you never knew about. If you would like to subscribe to this channel, you can do so down below. If you would like to subscribe to my other channel, Unlimited Substance Podcast, I'll add a link in the description to this video.